This is my student management system program. So it basically works around as the central database, which is just an array list. So the array list basically will contain all the student data. And so how it works is the first method, program start, is called immediately when the program starts from the main method. And when it starts, it says to the users, welcome to the student management database, start or exit program. And so basically, goes down here, we import the Java util scanner, and then we use the scanner down here, and then we create a new database object. So we create this object so that we can interact with it, use its methods. And so I have a while true loop, which basically means this loop will run forever unless it is broken out of or returned. And so when you return out of a loop, it will go back to here. So it will go like that. And then, and so no, it'll go back to where this method was called. And so when you return to where this method was called, it was called here. And so it'll go, okay, I'm done, so I'll go down to the end, and then the whole program will end. So when you return, it returns to where it was called, and then it goes down here to end. So now you take the user input from the scanner next line into a switch statement. Use the switch statement as the case, as the base case, so that like let's say the user inputs S, it will say, okay, the user inputted S, now I'm going to call the database control method. And then when you do that, it goes here. It says, welcome to the student management database. And then it will print all this to the user. This is the menu, so you can add students, display student details, search for student by ID, and exit the database. And so after it prints that to the user, it will then take the user's input from here. And just the other cases in this were X. When you press X, it just exits the program. And then when you press something that isn't X or S, it will say invalid input. And so now when you go here, from the user's input, it takes the user's input and determines whether they inputted A, D, S, X. When they input S, it adds student. When they input D, it displays student details. When they press S, it searches for student by ID, and then when they press X, it returns to where this method was called, and database control was called here. And so it will go, yeah, we'll go welcome to the student database. It will break, and then when that breaks, it will go down here. Let me just see how it works again. So when I go S, yeah, so it'll go back here to here. It will reprint this out to the user. Then it will go back. This switch statement will break. Whenever you break out of a switch statement, it goes back. So it'll go break, go back up here. Then it will prompt the user to start or exit. And then they can exit, which will return to where this method was called, and which will end the program. And so now, from here, I'll go into the add student method. And what the add student method does, it creates a new student. And the reason why I'm not creating a parameterless student is because in here I have my default constructor, which is just no name, no address. Then I set the properties for it, like this: student ID, major, GPA. So no student ID, no major, no GPA. So this is if a user. So this is if when you're creating a new object. Right here, if I didn't put any parameters in, if I just did this. If I did this, what would be in here would be it would default to these instead. But the reason why I'm putting parameters here is because I want I actually want my so for here, for my student ID, I want my student ID to actually be, like, I want it to be initialized so that student ID will actually work, because without initializing my object and just doing the default, student ID does not work. And so that's why I'm doing that. And so property set, so this is the most important variable in this whole method, is it basically whenever you, so like in add student, I'm allowing the user to set each property of student. And so on property set 0, I'm basically allowing the user to change the name of the student. And so when they change it, and so when they enter the name of the student, then they have set one property. And so when they've set one property, go to the next one, which is enter address of student. Once they've entered the address of student, it increases set property by 1, which means it will go here to the second. And so when they set another property, I've set 3 properties when I go, and then it goes. So I'll just go through entering name of student. Like I won't go through all the other ones. Actually, they all use the same. Yeah, they all use the same method. So that's how I reduced. That's how I reduced a lot of repetition in the code, as I used a method to set properties. And so it says back to menu, enter name of student. If you go back, it just returns to where this method was called, which is this while loop here, which then allows you to go back to adding students or anything else here. But if you enter anything else, it goes here. So it goes to property set equals set student property student name property set. And so we'll go to set student property method. And so the set student property method is where is it? Yeah, here it is. So I have the student property value property set. So I'm checking if the property that I sent to this method is a string. If it is a string, then I know it's either property 1, 0, 1, or 3, which property 1 is, let's see where, so these are all the properties of student right here. And so the first one is a string, the second one is a string, and the fourth one is a string. And so because everything starts at 0, name is 0, address is 1, major is 3. And so because they're all strings, if I'm setting the name, I know it's going to be a string. If I'm setting the address, I know it's going to be a string. If I'm setting the major, I know it's going to be a string. And so if it is a string, then I know that student, so now I'm actually setting the name of what was passed to the function. So I'm setting the name of the, so I'm setting the student's name to whatever you inputted as the user, and then I'm casting it to a string. So I'm converting the property value to a string. And so the reason why, so this is object, this is something in Java that denotes, like, it's at the very root of all other properties in Java, of all other things. And so because of that, I can enter into this method more than just strings. Because the reason why I have to do that is because I have strings, I have integers, I have a double. And so if you see here, all the way back up here, I'm going to be entering in to the parameters of that method, I'm going to be entering in a string, because I'm trying to enter in to my parameters of my methods, I'm entering in. So I'm entering in name, which is a string. I'm going to be entering in, let's see, age, which I'm converting to an int here. So I'm gonna be passing in an integer to the method. I'm going to be passing in another string, which is fine. I'm going to be entering in as well. I'm going to be entering in a double into the parameters of the method, and so I'm going to be entering in a string, an int, and a double. And so I use object to, object is basically a catch-all. It allows you to enter in any type. So when you specify a parameter of object, it allows you to enter in a thing of any type, and that's why I use it. And then and so I'm converting that object to type string so that I can use it to basically set to basically, because student name is a string, so then I have to actually convert an object to a string, because student name has to be a string. And so I'm basically converting the object type to string type so that I can change the student's name to whatever the user inputted for the student's name. And I do that for everything else. If it is 1, so 0 is string name, 1 is integer age. And so I'm converting the string of property value. So I'm converting property value to string. Actually, yeah, 0 is name, 1 is address, not age. So 0 is name, 1 is address, and so I'm converting the object, so address object, to address string, so that I can actually set address to what the user inputted. Because if I tried to set address to object property value, then it would get a type error. And so that I'm just printing whenever the user successfully inputs the thing into the specified property into the function, it then outputs to them address of student, gets the address that they set. And so for all this, but if the property value instance of string, so if what they inputted into this method is a string, but it's not the basically, if it doesn't equal like 4, so like if they enter a string and property set is 4, then it just doesn't work. And then if the property value is not a string, so like for example, if I was to like if I was on like major, for example, and I entered in like and I entered in an integer, well, because I'm on major and I entered in a integer, it shouldn't work. It should just return to them. And so now, if the property value is a integer, then I make the object into a integer to an int, and then I output to them. And so you see how I'm incrementing this to the, so I'm incrementing the property set So I'm returning property set. So let's say property set is right now 0, and it's which means I want the user to set the name. Well, whenever they set the name, I increment property set by 1. Now the user should be uh, inputting address. And so now I kind of just want to show the actual program working. So this is the actual output of the program, which probably might make it easier to explain as well. So I can either start or exit the program, and then so you see the database menu. Whenever I add a student, I can either go back to the menu or enter name of student. So I'm going to go back, brings you back to the menu, and I'm going to add a student. I'll add like the student. Actually, I named it wrong. Bilty. So I'm going to go back, enter this name of the student properly. Billy, address 55 Amber Street, just some random address. Age of student, Billy is 30. He is in he's in philosophy. And yeah, I spelled that wrong, so I can go back. I think that's how you spell it. And then he has a GPA of 3.62, and then I can either confirm or back. So I have extra code for either confirming, and now if I want to go back, I can go back. For some reason I have to do it twice. I might need to fix that. That's a bug in my program. But I can enter the GPA 3.21, and then I can confirm it. Student Billy added to the database. And so that's sort of how it works. It goes through each one, and that's what I meant by like this is the mechanism. Go to the other monitor. This is the sort of mechanism of going through one by one to allow the user to input the properties of the student one by one. So like name, address, age, major, GPA, and then confirm. And this is a good way to be able to allow a sort of linear system to where you want the user to be able to do one thing after another thing after another thing in a linear way, so that if the user makes a mistake, you can actually go back and redo the previous thing. And so if I go back again, I have a lot of error detection that I built into the program to make sure that if something's wrong, but like for like name, for example, you can still enter integers. Like you can still, because some people's names have numbers, like, and then address. Sometimes a name will have a number, like, and then address. So like that doesn't error because those are still strings, right? But for age, if I enter a string for age, it doesn't work. I've actually created this error basically. So it says invalid input. I've actually put this into the program, but this is what's called a try catch block, and basically in the try catch block you can the program will basically try to execute something, and then if it encounters an error, it will catch the error and not actually halt the execution of the program itself, which is really good for situations where you don't know if the program where you know your program could error, but you don't know if it will. And so that's just a good practice to do if there's parts of your program where you know they can error and you can't account for if it will or not. And so that's basically it. And I can go back, so I can go like name, address, age doesn't work, major, GPA. And so if I enter anything like that's not B or C, and so that's just erroring or error handling. And so for student details menu, I'm just gonna show the rest of the program running. So start, add student. I don't think I need to explain most of it. Like for display student details or search for student, those are pretty simple. They utilize for loops. So I'm just gonna add a student, Rick 545 5 Equine. Age is like 50. Using IT programming. His GPA is 4.0. I confirm his information. And now I'm going to go to display student details. So now you can see I have the student list, student 0, which is Rick. So I can display student, name of student. And so what's displaying the student does, display, why did that not work? Oh, I'm gonna set that. Let's fix it. Let's fix it right now. So I can display all students, which gives you the details like student ID, name, address, age, major, GPA, and it gives you a student list again. Oh, there we go. So if you don't enter in the capital, it doesn't work. Oh, it does work. What? Why did it not work the first time? Oh, I think it didn't work the first time because I put a space. So if you put a space, yeah, okay, that's why it didn't work. So if it's because Java because Java doesn't treat spaces as white space, it treats them as actual string. And so that works. And so for search for student by ID, I can. So Rick's student ID was W0 W hashtag 1. I can go W hashtag 1. No students with hashtag 1. What do you mean? I wonder why that's working. It's saying his student ID is. It's saying his student ID is W at 1, but it's actually W at 0. And so I can try to fix that error too. So if I go here, I go into student. Whenever I create a student, I increment their ID count by 1. So all I do is I increment a student ID count, and then I concatenate this string with this integer. And so the reason for why I think it would be doing that is maybe it could be displaying the details before it's actually incremented. I don't think that would be the thing. That would be the problem, though. I can try to run the program again to see if it's working again. So I'm just gonna enter in like quickly information W at 0. See, now it's invalid. Okay. So if I display all students, see his student ID is 0. So for some reason it had incremented Rick's ID by 1. This time it's not it's working. So I can display student W at or W hashtag 0, and it doesn't work. Oh wait, no, this is the wrong one. Enter valid student ID W at 0. Okay, it's working. So it works. But one thing I want to add, so that's basically the program running. Uh, that's how it works. It's quite cool. Quite a lot of lines, but that's how it works. There's a little bit more things that I could show, like the student details menu. All it does is it immediately prompts to the user. But like I have things like if the student array is empty, then it won't actually like print anything out. It'll go like if student array is not empty, then print out to the user, the students. Otherwise, don't print this out. Like, do not print this out if there's no students. And if there's no students in the database, break, because if it did go, then it would cause an error. I'm setting the name so I can go display student details, student ID, student name, address, age, major, and in display student details, I'm using those things that I passed: student ID, name, address, GPA. So, and it's useful to be able to reuse it in search for student by ID. This is an interesting method. So it prompts to you back, enter valid user ID, string user input, scanner. So it takes the thing that you inputted. If what you inputted is B, then return. So if you press back, then just return. Otherwise, I have this try catch block. So basically, what the try catch block is, try this. String index string equals user input substring 2. What substring does is it takes everything. So because my student ID is W hashtag, those are not numbers that I can use. I can't use those in indexing for something. So I have to basically take those away, like take them out of the string. So my student IDs start with the prefix W at. But what I actually want from this string is I want the number. I want this. I want 1. And so how I can take away W and hashtag is by doing this. And so if you know in indexes in arrays, you'll know that every index starts at 0, and then after that 1, after that 2. And so basically what this says is I want all indexes after 2 or at 2 and beyond. I want to keep those. So it goes 0, 1, so 0, 1, 2. Keep everything, so keep 1 and everything beyond it. Keep 1, if there's a 0, keep 0, and take away that. Now I'm left with the string of 10. And then I have to convert the string 10, if the user inputted 10, to if the user inputted W at 10, I have to convert this string to an integer, which is integer parse int, and that's where the error, that's why I've wrapped it in try catch. Also for this, but mostly for this, whenever you're doing integer parse int, it's good to put it in a try catch, because if the thing you're trying, so this basically converts a string to an integer, but if you input anything that isn't an integer, it will error. And so it takes the string of 10, converts that into an integer 10, and then it says if 10 is less than the array size, the student array size. So let's say there's 10 students in the student array. Well, student int is equal to, so this is not true. And or student index int is greater than student array, the array size. It is not greater, which means it's just equal to. So this would not be true, because if the student array's size if the student array size is 10, which means that so like if there was 10 students in the array, there would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And because so this is like the trick with array with any array dot size is when you have an array that has 10 things in it, it means that there's actually that means that there's actually 9 indexes. So if you have an array that has 10 things in it, it means that the index only goes up to 9 because it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, not 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that's why you have to subtract 1. Is because the index starts with 0. And because an array with 10 things in it is 10, but the index starts at 0, and that's basically why. And so this would be false, because if the array size is 9, that means we have 10 things in it. And so it would go, you get the student from the array by getting the index. And so you're basically, so I want to find the student at index, whatever the user inputted, in this case 10. So I want to find the student at index 10. So basically, I have student 10 student. This is the key. This is the value. The user inputted 10. Now I want to get the student at that key. And so I use the key. I get the student at what the user inputted, at the key the user inputted. Then I get all the information from the student itself. So I get the student's ID, student's name, address, age, major, GPA, all from the student. Then I just display the student details again. And then here's where the error is actually catched. If this throws an error, so if the user inputted a integer, well then it will catch that error and it will say invalid input, the error. Now the string index out of bounds exception occurs where did I forget? Where's get? Oh yeah, there. Yeah, here. Student array dot get index integer. This is usually where the error occurs. Let's say like if the user inputted, say like, well actually here's where it happens. So like student array dot size. So like this is to avoid errors. So like if the user inputs like say 11 and there's only 10 things within the student array, then it just would not run. So that's basically how it works. Is you take what the user inputted, use what the user inputted, say 10, to index for the student at that index. So if there's 10 students, you want the final student, you want to index for that student using the number 10. And that's basically it. We have set student property, and that's basically just the whole program. That's from start to finish. Now what I want to do though, which want to add something extra to this, is basically I want to add a option to remove a student. So basically I want to be able to remove a student too. So I'm going to show you how I would create a method to actually remove a student from the database itself. Remove student, I can make it like R, fix that. And so this will basically be like in a real database, you would want to be able to add things. You would also be able to remove things. So I've already created the sort of skeleton of a method, and so right here, so this is my switch statement that controls what happens when a user inputs something. And so when a user inputs A, you want to add something. When a caser removes something, or when a user presses R, you want to remove something. And so I already had the method. I had made a method somewhere here. Remove student. Okay, I'm just gonna add one. Below add student will be remove student. The public. And basically all that static does is it allows you to call methods without having to make an instance of the class which the methods are part of. And so usually you cannot call methods from inside the class that the methods are contained in. So like usually I wouldn't be able to call methods within student database unless they're made static, which just because usually methods can only be called if you call them off of an instance of a class. So remove student. Basically what I can do now is go up here, remove student, and now I can make a while loop to create a sort of user input. So I can do string user input, and I can do scanner. So I want to be able to get the user input, scanner.next line. That equals. And so, but first I want to be able to prompt. First I actually want to make a while loop. So while true, so this is an infinite loop. It will never stop, and so this loop will never yield unless, or will never be broken out of unless you add break statements. So I can put this user input in here, and I can print to the user what they should be able to input. So in my add student, I have a bunch of things. Basically, I made a student details menu method, but I made a display student list method. What I want to do is make a display student details, display student list, where yes, so this is basically what I want to do. I want to get the student list to be able to output to the user what students are currently in the database. And so what I've done here is I've done the same thing basically in the display students thing. Where is it? Add student. Yes, student details menu. And so basically here I can remove this because I've created a method that does this. Display student list. This basically just displays all the students that are actually in the database, and so I can use that. I can use this where I'm not good at finding my methods. So display student list. Yeah, here it is. So I can display the student list first, which gives you the list of all the students in the database itself. Then I can do and so basically I can enter a student to be removed from the database, and I'll do it by let's do it by name. Name. So display student list, enter student to be removed from database name. So I can take the user's input. I can loop through, so for I equals 1 into I equals 1. When I is less than or equal to user input, iterate I by 1. And so I want to convert it to this. So this is where I would use a try catch. Let's see what it did for these. So for student array. Oh yeah. I actually loop through. So I go student array dot size. So basically what this does is it loops through the entire student array. So if the student array is if the entire student array has 5 indexes, then it will loop through 5 times, which means it'll go through every single index to ensure that you've looped through the entire thing. If you don't put -1, then if there's 5, if the student array size, if there's 5 things in it, it will equal 5, but there won't be a 5th index. It'll only go up to 4 because it'll go 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that just ensures that it works. So I can convert user input to an integer, basically. I can get the index at that point. So at user input, if user input, so now I want to check if user input equals or dot equals ignore case. This basically makes it so that I can check if one string is equal to another string without any case sensitivity. So I can go student array dot get I. So I'm getting the index at I equals ignore case get I. Then actually I'm just gonna do this. So student array, to make it better, to make it easier to understand, I can do string name equals student array dot get I. Oh yeah, get I dot get name. So basically, student array dot get I equals the student. Then you have to get the name from the student, and then from this I can say equals ignore case name. So if the user input equals the name equals any name of any student, so it'll loop through. It'll go, okay, there's 5 students in the database. Student's 1 name is Billy. Student 2's name is Nick. Well, the user inputs Nick. It'll go through the first student. It'll compare the string Billy, Nick to the string Billy. It'll say, okay, they're not equal. Now I'm gonna loop through again. Okay, I'm on iteration 2. Now I equals 1. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to index for 1 in the student array. Okay, well the student at index 1's name is Nick. And the user also inputted Nick. Well, Nick equals Nick. So now I know that I want to remove Nick from the student database. And so now I can take the so I can say student. So the student I want to remove is student array get I. So this is the student whose name is what the user inputted. Otherwise, So while you're looping through, keeps looping through. Now when you reach the end of the loop, it should just, so basically I'm gonna have like a statement here, like invalid name. So if a name, if something is found, so if a student is found whose name equals what the user inputted, then it will get that student, and it will do student. I actually don't need that student at all. I can just do student array dot get, or student array index of I. Pretty sure I could just do like, how do I remove? Yeah, okay, okay, that's how you do it. So student array remove, and then I'm gonna actually re-add. Going to re-add what I deleted. Student array get I, remove student. So now I'm getting the student whose name equals the name that the user inputted. I'm removing that student from the student array, and then afterwards I'm breaking out of the loop. If a student's name was not found within the array, output to the user that they entered an invalid name. Actually, I'm going to do this outside of the for loop. So outside of the for loop, if they found it, because invalid name will print every single time. I want to only, I can do this. Actually don't know. Because it's going to loop through every time. It's going to check if it equals it. If it doesn't, then it goes to the next. It goes to the next. Goes to the next. And then, yeah. Instead of breaking, I'm gonna. Yeah, that's how I do it. Yes. Instead of breaking, I'm going to return. So when you find the student that you want to remove the student, return. And then go back. So now when I do this, if I run the code, I'm going to go to the next monitor. If I actually run the code, let's see if it works. So start, add student. I'm going to add like Rick, 4, Yarrow Road, 20, IT programming, GPA 2.5, he's failing, confirm, and I'll add, so I've added Rick, now I'm going to add Billy, address of student, Avenue, age of student, he'll be like 45, major will be philosophy, GPA can be like 3.5 or 3.0, confirm, and so now I can, you see I've added this, remove student, if I enter and remove student, that's the student list. I can remove any student that I want. And so when I type a Rick, there you go. But it didn't actually seem to have removed it. So I can go back to where my code was. So here, where I made that. Where is it? Oh yeah, it's up here. So I have add student, then remove student. So I'm doing student array remove student. And let me just run through it. So I entered the name. Oh, it said invalid name. That's what it said, invalid name. So the name was Rick. I entered in Rick. Let me try it. Let me try it again. Just gonna add a quick student like FFF, the age, the major, the GPA, confirm, remove student. Okay, it's saying invalid name, so why would it say that? Oops. Why would it say invalid name? Display student list. It has to do with this. So one way if I run into a bug that I can debug is that I can print. You can use print statement, so I can use it and say I'm here. So what I want to know is if this condition is evaluating to true or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to then go back to my program after I've added that. I'm going to restart it. Start, add, I'm going to add a student at SS, age 3, major, GPA, that, confirm, remove, SS. Okay, so now I know that because it didn't print out I'm here. I know that because this I'm here wasn't printed out, I know that this condition's not evaluating to true at all. So the student array.size -1. So let's think about it. When I is 1, iterate this loop when I is less than student array size or equal to. So because there's only one thing in the array, which makes student array.size equal to 1, when you minus 1 by 1, it's 0. When 0 is less than or equal to student array size, 0 is less than or equal to 1. So it should be true. It should evaluate. I is 1. So when 1... So there's one thing, so it's 1. So student array.size is 1. And 1 minus 1 is 0. Oh, 1 minus 1 is 0. That makes I equal to student array.size though. Let's test it. So let's print this out. This is another way you can debug by printing out values. So how do I... Oh. So I know what I is. I is 1. Oh, it's because I is 1. Because, yeah, that's why. Because I is 1, when I is greater than 0, it means that this is false. This for loop only runs when I is less than student array size -1. Well, if student array only has one thing in it, it means that That means that student array size minus 1 is 0. Well, 1 is greater than 0, which means that this will be false. So how did I do my other for loops? So one way you can find things in your code is by clicking Control and F. It's different from IDE to IDE, but if you click Control F, you can search for things. And now I can look at all the instances where I use my for loops. So here's an instance where I use a for loop. I equals 0. Okay, I used I equals 0. That's my error. It's because I used I equals 1. So my condition was always evaluating to false, which means that the for loop would never run at all. And so when I set this to I equals 0, now I can go back to my second monitor. Hopefully it works. I'm pretty sure it will. We go to add student, Rick, address, 24 West Somber Road, age will be 20, major IT prog, 2.4, 2.5, 3.5, and then Billy, I'm just going to confirm that. Billy, GB Street, age can be like 75, and the major can be let's put them in programming, and then GPA could be 3.5. Okay, now if I display my student details, I have both my students. I have student 0, student 1. Now if I go to remove a student, I want student Rick to be removed. Yes! It works! It actually works. And so now we only have student Billy left. And you see, now student Billy is student 0. That's because we use, and he's still not student 1. That's because we use the indexes for the student numbers. Now for the student ID, we haven't actually changed the student ID. So like whenever a student's removed in a typical system, or whenever you're in a database or anything, I'm pretty sure IDs, if something's removed from that list, your ID doesn't then change. Your ID remains the same regardless of if people, because things are usually not removed from databases. Like data stays regardless. Even if it is removed, the IDs remain the same. So that way your ID isn't constantly changing. You don't have to keep on looking at what your ID is. And so then if we go back, we go to, and the reason this menu is what's here was because I did not I need to break the while loop. I'm pretty sure I need to like return somewhere. But anyway, that's how you would add something to your program. And yeah, student 0 is Billy. I can display the student details. His student ID is still 1, it's not 0. It hasn't decreased. His address, his age, major, GPA. And there you go. And then I can search for student by ID as well. His ID is W at 1. Well, it didn't work, so I might have to fix that. W at. Possibly it's W at 0. Yeah, it's not. Their student ID is not reflecting their actual. Maybe because I'm improperly trying to index for what index they appear in. Regardless, that's how you do it. Yeah. Goodbye.